On today's Hashi, I'm discussing existing home sales data, home buyers backing out, and mortgage applications for the week. Today is Wednesday, July 24th, 2024. I'm Byron Lazine, and the Hashi starts now. Welcome to the Hot Sheet. Let me know in the live chat which market you are tuning in from. Hit that thumbs up and subscribe. This is the only show on the internet for a live housing update, 24-hour look back. Monday through Thursday, we do this when the markets are open. Share this with someone who could benefit from a 24-hour look back in housing. Of course, if you want to be an agent of change and you're knowing that the industry is under massive change and disruption as August 17th looms, less than 30 days away, love for you to join me in October at BAM Mania. Go to bammania.com. October 17th and 18th is the event where hundreds of agents of change will be gathering, not only to network, but to listen to some of the strategies to implement into their business to make sure that you stay ahead of all of this disruption and change and actually lead it. All right. Speaking of agents of change and leaders in the industry and how we're going to message and, why is the hot sheet so important? It's important so that we can get our messaging down. I just got a text message actually yesterday. This is a great text. Said, my YouTube video today is crushing, and all I did was take scripts from the hot sheet from last week. Thanks, B. That's from Jeremy Knight, who's obviously filled in for this show. All of the information, the hot sheet show notes, everything that we do that we put inside of BAMX is for you to be able to speak intelligently and to close that knowledge gap between where the consumers are in massive confusion and uncertainty around a market, and obviously be that agent of change that leads them through that uncertainty and that fear. Now, Bobby, who's back in studio here today, welcome back, Bobby. Found his keys to his car today. Exactly. Bobby sent me this clip last night on X, and I don't know this agent in Chicago. I'm sure he's a fantastic agent. He his bio says he's got the #1 transactions in Chicago. So listen to this, and then we're going to get into this existing home sale data. And I don't know. I usually don't play clips like this on the hot sheet, but let's go ahead and listen, and then I'll react to it.
People are such prisoners of the moment these days, right? We're very knee-jerk reaction. People forget about end of 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013. Okay, every single person that you knew had their house on the market and couldn't sell. So you're going to tell me that everybody's going to offer zero, because we're coming into a shift. Like it hasn't been this easy to sell real estate in like certain parts of the state for a very long time. Generally speaking, like history repeats itself. It's the oldest saying in the world. Like it's going to happen again. And when a property sits for 150 days, and then your neighbor comes up and it's like, you know what? He's been sitting for 150 days. I'm going to undercut him by $25,000. I'm going to offer 3%. You think that's not going to? If you think that's not going to happen, you're nuts. Because right now, everybody's only looking at the fact that every house sells in one day. And I love that this was passing on August 17th, because there's this little event happening called the presidential elections, the bloodiest election in the history of our country, and people are going to be scared shitless to spend their money. And at the same time, you're not going to offer 0% when the market's going to take a nosedive. Mark my words, in August, this market's going to crash. And you're going to then offer 0%. So at the same time, it's going to only make our case even better, because people are like, nothing's selling anymore right now. That's what I think is going to happen.
So where X is running, this clip was on Twitter X, this QE Infinity posted it. And what everybody's running with is that this particular agent who sold a lot of real estate, according to, again, I don't know him, but according to everything that you could find, is that he said, quote, this market is going to crash come August. He was talking about the commission stuff there. I don't see any correlation between what's going on in the NAR world and what the market's going to do. Now, number one, the real estate market has already crashed. It's what we're about to cover. It's existing home sales. It's down 5.4%. It's down to 3.89 million existing home sales. These are historic lows on transactions. Okay, this is the 4 million mark in existing home sales is the floor. This is a seasonally adjusted number, the 3.8 million. We've been in a real estate recession. It's been going on for 24 months. So to say the market's going to crash in August, which is basically now, is very misleading. Number one, because right away people think prices, and that's really where he's got to be going with this, because again, the market crashed 2 years ago when it came to transactions. We're in a real estate recession. So people's minds go to prices. He didn't explain how the market is going to crash. And prices right now, June 2024, existing home sales fell as the median sales price climbed to the highest price ever recorded, according to NAR. So all of a sudden, we're going to have a crash from a record high. He mentioned, 2011, 12, 13. He rattled off all those years during the great, after the aftermath of the GFC. Those of us that were selling during that time frame, I'd agree with him. During that time frame, it was very difficult to get homes sold. There was inventory that was racking up. I'm going to give you a months of inventory update here in a minute too, which did raise my eyebrows a little bit, but it's nowhere near the levels of those years. There's no indication. We've gone over this over and over and over again. We just talked about foreclosures being at lower at this point than foreclosure starts, lower at this point than at the same point last year. We're down near historic lows on foreclosure starts. Mortgage homeowners have $17 trillion in equity. And ultimately, if they want to sell it, they're maybe not going to make as much money as what the record prices were when homes were selling in a day, but they can move on from that property and be fine financially. They might not get their aspirational number, but they're not going to get hurt. Okay. We haven't seen a, catastrophic job loss. He mentioned I don't think that we're going to have any type of historic layoffs between now and the election because of the election. So a lot of things I didn't like about what he was saying there, because I think it's incredibly misleading. History repeats itself. There are no indications, zero, that we're going to have any type of residential mortgage crisis in this country, which spurred that market crash, that time period. It's much harder to get a mortgage. There's much less capital available for lenders. All of that has been changed in 2012. And so, be careful. The reason why we're putting out the hot sheet show notes each and every single day, and the reason why I read that text off, is so that you can take this stuff, literally copy and paste the data, the facts, and use it in your communication. Use it in a video that maybe you want to put out. Maybe you want to do a local show just like this, covering local headlines and then comparing the macro to the micro market. Copy and paste it. Use this stuff. For BAMX members, you get access to all of those show notes every single day, along with all of the graphs, along with video scripts that Bobby writes, a video script done for you every single week. 2 video scripts, email scripts, blogs, social templates. You get all of that inside of BAMX. Use code HOT to get your discount on BAMX today. There's a link down below. All right. So with that, let's make sure we have the accurate information. Now, what I will say is a crash is certainly the existing home sale data. Okay. So NAR just released existing home sales yesterday for June of 2024. And those existing home sales are now down to 3.8 million seasonal and adjusted annual rate. A lot of people were talking about, we're going to get into the what are we at? 4.8, 4.9. We're going to get to, these numbers this year, and the demand just isn't there. Okay. So we're under 4 million. You rarely see us break under 4 million, even in those recovery years. You got to go back. Lance Lambert did that study we talked about. You got to go back to the 70s to have this few of transactions. When you factor in, population adjustments, we are at a crash recession point in real estate when it comes to transactions, not prices. Median sales price is at 426,900 year over year. That's up 4.1%. And NAR says that is a record set in June of 2024. Month over month, those total sales are down 5.4. Year over year, total sales are down 5.4. Now, months of inventory. This number is interesting to me. 4.1 months of inventory on existing home sales. 3.1 this time last year. Okay, last number I saw from NAR, I think, was 3.7. Now we're up to 4.1 months of inventory. Homes are taking longer to sell. They are sitting on the market for an extended period of time versus where we came out of a couple years ago. 4.1 months of inventory is close to what Redfin would call a neutral market where neither buyers or sellers have control. They call it 5 months of inventory. I was trained and taught and brought up in this industry at 6 months of inventory being the neutral point. Okay. And I think depending on your location, it might be 6. You might lean into 5 in other locations, whatever. Call it 5, call it 6. We're at 4.1. We're getting close to a neutral, balanced market where neither sellers or buyers have full control. Okay, 2 years ago, we know sellers had overwhelming control in almost every market or in every market across the country. There was multiple offers happening on basically every median priced home. Okay, you get closer to 5 and 6 months of inventory, you're going to see a well-balanced market where really great properties, pride of ownership properties, well-kept after properties, well-marketed properties, good marketing and coming soon positioning to the market, all of that are going to still see high demand. Okay, updated features, somebody who had a sense for floor plan and didn't scab some do-it-yourself together weekend projects on the home. Okay, those homes are going to do well. Then you're going to see homes in this balanced market and homeowners that haven't done that type of care to the property that sit on the market longer. Okay. And that's where that balance comes in. You get up over 6 months of inventory. Right now we're at 4.1 according to NAR. You get up over 6 months of inventory. The leverage starts to swing into the buyer camp where they can negotiate deeper concessions, where they have the ability to negotiate price, terms, and condition at a more consistent level across a market. Okay, so we're getting closer to that. I could see if rates don't move down. Buyers are rooting for rates to move down. Rates move down. I think some of their leverage goes away because you're going to have people come off of the sideline. But if rates kind of hang where they're at, call it 6 3/4 even, okay, then I could see this winter months of inventory get up over 5 months. I could see it getting closer to 6 as we enter into next year, and we're going to be talking about a potentially balanced market. Now, rates move down closer to 6%. All of that can kind of go out the window. Okay, more in this NAR study. You can see here out of the last this is going back to 2020. So the last 4 years, we haven't seen any lower number than this on total existing home sales seasonal annual adjusted rate, 3.89. It's almost inconceivable because you rarely see this go under 4 million. Of a normal market would be up over 5 million. Okay. Median price of existing home sales, again, record right now. So everyone talking about this crash, wake up, take a look at the numbers. Existing home sale median price percent change year over year. There you go. Okay. When you go year over year per the month, these are chunky numbers, 4s and 5s spread out on every month. Total existing home sale percent year over year. This continues to drop. And this recent one of 5.4% at a time when in June you would expect, still a strong buyer season. It dropped more significantly than I think some of the projections had suggested that they would. Okay. According to NAR, what do realtors say? The percentage of sales with first-time home buyers is up 29% versus last June at 27. Sales to investors is down, says realtors, at 16% versus 18 of last year. Cash sales are up 28% of deals being cash versus 26% this time last year. Distressed sales, no indication that distressed sales are going up. 2% last year, 2% this year. Okay. No indication that we're going to enter into a repeat of 11, 12, and 13. That's silly. Days on the market, 22 up versus 18 from last year. So realtor survey from NAR suggests that those days on market, months of inventory, are nonetheless increasing. Here's where the existing home sales by region took place. Majority in the South, 45% of the existing home sales were there. Northeast, 12%, West, 19%, and Midwest, 24%. Here you go by price range. Love looking at this one. Really shows agents chasing after 2 million plus homes. How many of them are happening there? We know the luxury market's strong right now, but you only got 9% up over 1 million. And if you're in one of those markets where you don't have a lot of homes up over 1 million, that number is even smaller. 44% of the sales for existing homes happened in the 250 to 500 range, and then another 19% from 5 to 750. That's where most Americans can buy homes. You had 17% between 100 and 250. Okay, so 750 and less is where 80% of the transactions are happening. $750,000 and less. If you want a repeatable business, that whether we're in a depressed market on transactions or not, that can't be easily disrupted. It's building a brand in those price ranges, for sure. I can understand folks that are in a luxury market would disagree with that, but just generally speaking, that's where the opportunities are in any given market. It's very hard to disrupt that. People move in those price ranges out of need as opposed to want. Percent change in sales from a year ago by price range. Million up homes are up 3.6%. So there is demand there right now. If you happen to be in one of those markets, don't kid yourself. If there's only 20 million plus home sales in your town, like the town I'm sitting in right now, this town, if you just want to work this town, there's only going to be about 20 million plus home sales. So to run around and try to only focus your business on that would be foolish. It'd be silly. 0 to 100,000 percent change in total sales, down 26%. 1 to 250 down 17.9%. 250 to 500 down 12.4%. 500 to 750 down 7.6%. Now, total sales, existing home sales, are down overall, and no surprise that where the majority of the sales are happening are seeing that biggest decrease. Obviously, we'll link all of that up, available for you inside of BAMX, the show notes, so that you can use inside of your communications with your database of what's going on here in the market. Record-setting price in June, maybe something homeowners sitting on the fence should know about, that they're at the top, they're at the peak, they're at the record-setting home value right now. It's all available for you in BAMX. Use code HOT to grab all of that. All right, Redfin reporting right now that there is a cold feet situation happening with buyers. Buyers backed out of deals at a record rate in June. Okay, so maybe this is one of the reasons why we saw such a significant decrease on existing home sales. Home prices hit an all-time high. So Redfin reporting what NAR says to be true, that the record home prices happened this past June, this past month. But buyers are getting concerned and backing out. About 56,000 home purchases were canceled. It's 15% of homes that went under contract. 20% of homes last month had a price cut. And let's take a look at some of the data. Okay, so home purchases fall through at the highest June rate ever recorded. So you've got June in the blue here, going back to 2017. This is higher than any June ever recorded. Just a tick above last year's June. So this year's June, you had 14.9% cancellations. Last year, 14.7%. If we look at just the last couple of years in particular, we're higher than almost any level. Obviously, March and April of 2020 would be outliers on this chart in comparison to the normal between 10 and 12%. That was fear with what was going on there in March of 2020, obviously understandable. But we're back to those levels basically throughout the last 2 years. This is driven by buyers getting into contract, obviously securing that interest rate, having to move forward with all the banking details. And they're saying, whoa, this is just getting, then they get the insurance quote, then they get and it's like, this is getting more expensive than I thought. Maybe I don't want to be a homeowner that bad. Okay. This is starting to rack up, and now I need to find a way out of the deal. Okay. So I see the comment there. I'd love to know the correlation between interest rates. Some buyers say, I'm going to go ahead and, yeah, Todd said, I like to see the correlation between cancellation and interest rates. Well, the correlation is right here in front of us in the chart. The minute these rates went up in mid 2022 is the same time these cancellation rates exploded, and they've stayed persistently high for the last 2 years as interest rates have been higher for longer. So Todd, you're hitting the nail on the head. This is the correlation. Rates explode, and so have these cancellations popping up to, at times, over 16%, over 15% many months out of the year the last 2 years, when they're historically topping out at 12 and sitting around 11% in a normal year. So we're talking about 5% higher than a normal market. 17, 18, 19, I would consider normal markets. Okay, so the interest rates have a lot to do with it. Now, I may not back out of it and say to you, hey, Todd, you're my agent. I may not say, hey, I want to back out of this because I just realized now it's way too expensive. I'm concerned. I'm not ready. I've got cold feet about the expenses, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to say to you, hey, Todd, not feeling that inspection report. Inspector said the roof was 29 years old, said it's not leaking right now, but I don't know. My uncle took a look at it, said it could fly off at any moment, probably smack a neighbor in the head, demolish their house. Then I'm going to be liable for all of that. You know how buyers talk. They get a little nutsy noodle. And so then they back out due to inspection, or then they back out due to some other reason. Okay. And so a lot of it, I think, is driven by some of this stuff. What was the cancellation rate during the last 2 pre-election months? Well, what was the last election would have been 2020. So we can look at the last one because it's on this chart. Last election was November 2020. Would that be correct? So really nothing out of the ordinary. Last election, January, you had a little bit, but that's not uncommon with any January. You get a little bit of an uptick versus the prior months. It happened. Let's go backwards because those are going to be more normal months. January was a decline in 19. Okay, January is typically a decline. So I guess January, you had a little bit of an uptick. But look at this. This is very flat and consistent with years prior, sitting right at about 12% in November 2020. Now, November 2020, you might say, okay, not a lot of people are canceling because by then you had a pretty strong real estate market. Because again, the second half of 2020, you started to see that demand really pick up in the real estate market, not to the level of 21, but still in 21, you saw some months where it hit 12% cancellations. You would think it probably would be lower with how competitive 2021 was. Okay. So I don't see a big, huge difference there. What you typically do see, in, the run up, the month before an election, is you'll typically see it's kind of almost treated like holiday, but just for an extended period of time, kind of bleeds into the end of the year holidays, where you see people say, I'm not going to list my home, just going to kind of wait and see. I've had these conversations at the dining room table. People listen like, hey, should I wait during election year? Should I wait till after the election? Really think everybody's distracted. Do you think in 24 there's going to be some distraction here over the next couple months with the movie script that has been playing out over the last 3 months? I mean, I think people are going to be a little bit distracted. I think it'll slow down listings more than anything else. Here's the all-time high in June. This might be a chart which we'll have available for you to easily download inside of BAMX, but it's in that Redfin report. This might be a chart. This might be some of the copy and paste data that we have outlined inside of the BAMX hot sheet show notes. Might be useful to you to encourage sellers to get off that fence now. Okay, so are we going to still be at an all-time high come December after the election, when prices are typically dropping, when demand drops, when we have that seasonality to the market? Or do you want to take advantage now when we're sitting at the top of the mountain? This might be something that's helpful for sellers to get off the fence and make that decision. Here's some more June 2024 housing market highlights per Redfin. You've got, again, the median sale price. That's a month-over-month pop of 0.9%. According to Redfin, we just looked at NAR's number, year-over-year 4%, a little under NAR's number. But their June number for the month of June is 442. That's higher than the 426, which was seasonally adjusted for the year, according to NAR. Homes sold seasonally adjusted 417,000, that's 4.17 million. The way they're doing this number here. Now, again, we've got NAR saying 3.89 million. So total homes, so that might include new as well. Total homes for sale, 1.636. This is just not accurate. Redfin, I don't know what the heck you're doing. Seasonally adjusted active listings. No, that's not accurate. We look at Altos every single Monday. It's 600,000. I don't know where they're getting the extra million from. It's got to be a misprint. Months of supply, they're at 2.6. Again, you've got NAR at 4.1. So no wonder Redfin's never been profitable, but there you go on some of those numbers. I'm not understanding some of those numbers here. This is, I guess, just for the month of June, but no, they said seasonally adjusted for that. So there you go. That's the Redfin report. Big thing here is their headline that buyers are backing out of deals at a record rate. But that's been happening now for 2 years, and it is interest rate driven. The affordability is the biggest issue, and it continues to be a concern till we really get these rates at a lower number. Okay, mortgage application data just came out, and the seasonally adjusted purchase index decreased 4% from 1 week earlier. Okay, this is in a week where we saw rates go lower. The unadjusted purchase index decreased 4% compared with the previous week and was 15% lower than the same week 1 year ago. When you include refinances in, mortgage applications decreased 2.2% from 1 week earlier. So you did see refis make up a little bit of the downfall in the purchases. The refi index increased 0.3% from the previous week and was 38% higher than the same week 1 year ago. Again, last week we covered that the Joel Kahn, MBA vice president, deputy chief economist, thought that this was driven by people who locked in at, say, like close to 8% and are now seeing it under 7%. And I go ahead and refining there. I think there's got 38% higher than last year. I think there's just some people are like, I want to tap into my equity while I have this high price. I think that's a possibility as well. Right now, as we enter this Wednesday, we've got a 10-year at 4.24. That's kind of where we've been hovering here for multiple days now. The 30-year fixed rate came in yesterday at 6.87, similar to the previous day at 6.89. So that's where we're sitting here with the 10-year and the 30-year. We've got FOMC meeting next week. We also have a little bit of data. I think actually there's some data that just came out today. We're going to get PCE here, I believe we're going to get PCE tomorrow or Friday this week. We should have had some inflation data today as well. PCE, of course, is what the FOMC likes. Okay, we got mortgage demand dropping as a headline. Yeah, I don't see any new inflation data today. But we'll be watching that leading up into what Jerome Powell's decision is going to be next week with him and the FOMC meeting. And if you're interested, I'd encourage you to go over to the video tab here on this channel. I think we've already, in about 12 hours, have somewhere in the neighborhood of 4,000 views on this thing. Just on YouTube alone, yeah, over 4,000 views. I cover what the EXP CEO's alleged stance on what the rules are going to be for their agents when it comes to commission sharing. That's a new Real Word podcast. I encourage you to go over and check out that if you're an agent. A lot of things are happening as we lead up to August 17th right now. Best way to be prepared. Two things. Get into BAMX. So you get all of that. Today, by the way, BAMX office hours are going to be 3 o'clock Eastern. This is our live stream office hour mastermind part of BAMX. I've got Jared James joining me. Okay, so special guests, myself and Jared James are going to be conducting the office hours. What you should know, what you should do to prepare for all of these industry changes, where your focus should be. This is an interactive session, so you can ask Jared questions personally. So if you want access to that today, BAMX members, you're getting a real treat here. If you're not a BAMX member, use code HOT to get into that today. 3 o'clock live stream, BAMX office hours, myself and Jared James. Use code HOT to jump into BAMX now. You'll get into our Facebook community page. You get access to that mastermind Zoom. All right. That's it for the hot sheet. I hope everybody has a great day. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Until then, toodaloo.